Hey guys, welcome to Tangents. This is the first edition of Tangents that I'm going to do. And Tangents is where we are going to take the skills we learned in the prior courses, the main courses, and we're going to use them to debunk the one myth about math that frustrates me the most. When am I ever going to use this? If you've heard that before, we're going to debunk that every time. We're going to show practical uses for all the skills that we're learning, okay? And so far there's been functions and exponents. So before I get started, I want to show you the investment that I have made in this channel. Yesterday I picked up a Wacom CTL 4100 Intuos tablets, so you guys can follow along with everything I do here today. I also got a HD webcam. Audio is not too great, but I hope you can hear everything I'm saying, and it's a little bit clearer. Because I heard the feedback from you guys that maybe you couldn't see the whiteboard and you couldn't really figure out what I was doing on there. So today, the practical skill we're going to learn is we're going to learn about the value of debt. We're going to learn, see here today, because we're all in debt, a lesson on loans. We're talking about amortized loans. We're talking about loans where you are paying back both the interest and the principal at the same time to slowly but surely get the loan down to $0 owed. Okay? So before I do that, I want to say thank you for the support so far. The subscriptions, the likes, they've all been highly appreciated. Let's get on with this. Let's learn what we can. So in this loan example, you might run into this with mortgages, you might run into it with car payments, and you will run into it with student loans. These are all amortized debts. These are amounts that you take from a private or a public entity that you have to pay back in full with interest. Okay? So let's look at the function that we have. It's a little scary. It's a little intimidating. We have 4 different variables here, but we'll explain each one of them. The first one, P. P is what we're trying to find, and that's our payment. You know, you want that to be as low as possible. Or maybe you're making a lot of money and you want to pay off the debt quickly, you want it higher. We'll look at that. A is the loan amount. How much is the bank or the person or the government, how much have they financed you? Right? The bulk loan amount. Have they financed you $5,000, $10,000, what? R is our interest rate. So when we're working with this, you hear interest rates given to you in percentages. 7%, 2.4. With percentages, we're going to turn them into decimals today. And I expect if you're watching these videos that you already have mastered turning percentages into decimals and decimals into percentages. So for that purpose, we're not going to be going into that too much. Just expect to see me turning percentages into decimals and vice versa. Okay? So that is your interest rate. R represents your interest rate in decimal format divided by the number of yearly payments. Okay? So whatever your APR is, divided by the number of times you're going to make a payment every year. Is it monthly? Then you're dividing by 12. Is it weekly? Then you're dividing by 52 because there's 52 weeks in a year. Okay? Makes sense? Moving on, we've got N. N equals the number of payments you're going to make to fulfill this loan. If the bank is giving you 6 years and you make those payments monthly, then that number, that N, is 72. If it's 5 years and you pay monthly, it's 60. Okay? So we're going to get into our whiteboard application. You're going to follow along with me. If you have a calculator, it's highly recommended that you use it. That way you can follow along with my calculations and see what I'm doing. But I'll make it quick and easy for you. And then after this, we are going to take it a step further. You might say, you know, Taylor, I own a fleet of Rolls Royces, and I'm trying to add to my fleet, and I don't want to have to do this in my head or on paper every time I finance a new Porsche Cayman. I want to automate this. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that in Excel. You would be blown away by the amount of heavy mathematical lifting that Excel can do for you. And I'm going to show you one particular function that will do the steps that we're about to do, and I'll do them light and quick. Okay? So let's go to whiteboard. I hope you're able to follow along. So here in whiteboard, I'm going to clear all this out, and we're going to do it by hand. Before I get started with that, let's define what these variables will be for us. So we've gone to a car dealership, and we've picked out a beautiful 2015 VW Golf. Dark gray color. That's my car. They have financed it to us for $17,000. They've given us a 6.9% interest rate because our credit sucks. Okay? So what I'm going to do with that 6.9 before I even put it into the function is I'm going to turn it into a decimal, 0.069. I'm then going to divide that by 12 to give me this figure, 0.00575. Okay? Now, the end value that we're going to plug into this function is 72. We have 6 years to pay this in 12 installments per year, monthly installments. Okay? So with that being said, let's get back to our whiteboard and we'll plug in our particular function. So here we go. Let me just switch on the pen here. P equals the amount financed to us, which is $17,000, times. So let's look back at our function again. I've written this P equals, and then the amount financed. What comes after is a multiplication. You are multiplying the amount financed against a fraction here, a rational expression. So it is P equals A times R times 1 plus R to the power of n. And in the denominator, it's 1 plus R to the power of n minus 1. Okay? P equals A times this fraction, R times 1 plus R to the power of n, all over 1 plus R to the power of n minus 1. So, you can see in this whiteboard behind me that I've written out our particular situation here, but I will do it again in the whiteboard. And in fact, just in case, I know my scribbling on the board has not helped make this very clear. So here's what we'll do. I'll write it right here for you guys. So P equals A times, I'll draw a division symbol there. Sorry, it's not too straight. And that's R times 1 plus R to the power of n. And that's all over 1 plus R to the power of n minus 1. So if we're going to write down our particular situation, we're trying to find P. A is 17,000 times our R value up here in the numerator. It's going to be 0.00575 times 1 plus that interest rate again, 0.00575. To the power of n, our n is 72. Okay? Now, let's fill out the denominator. The denominator is going to be 1 plus 0.00575 to the power of 72 minus 1. Cool. So now we've written out how our expression is going to look. Let's begin on solving it. Now we're going to use PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction from left to right. So do we have parentheses? We do. Let's solve these. It's the same problem in the numerator and the denominator. 1 plus 0.00575. That equals 1.00575 to the power of 72. Well, let's figure out what that is. So follow on your calculator. The exponentiating, the symbol for exponents is going to be this caret-shaped figure. So if you fire up your TI-84, you're going to do 1.00575 to the power of 72. what you get from that. And we're going to try to be as accurate as possible because I don't want Excel to make a fool of me. I don't want our numbers to be too different. What we get from that is going to be 1.5111. Pan down a little bit here to get us some more room. So what do we have now? We've got P equals 17,000 times our R value, 0.00575. That's our interest rate, times 1.5111. And then the denominator, we have 1.5111 minus 1. Well, let's simplify this real quick. 0.00575 times 1.5111 is 0.0087. And the denominator, 1.5111 minus 1 equals 0.5111. All right, we're getting there. It's P equals 17,000 now for the expression times 0.0087 over 0.5111. Great. Let's get rid of fractions. We don't like fractions here. Let's do 0.0087 divided by 0.5111. This expression equals, and I'm going to bring it out pretty far here, 0.017022. I'm happy with that. It's pretty specific. So finally, we have our P equals 17,000 times 0.017022. We can do this final multiplication problem and have what our payment's going to be. Let's do that on the calculator. Follow with me. 17,000 times 0.017022. Our payment for this loan is going to be $289.37. So, what if that's not in the budget, right? What can we change with the dealership or the mortgage lender? What can we change to make our payment lower, right? We can't afford that. We can't afford $289. What can we haggle with? So when you're at the dealership, the first thing you might think of is the loan amount. Oh, I don't want to pay $17,000. I want to pay $16,000. You know, you look up the Carfax on the car. Maybe it's been through a major accident. Maybe it's not even worth that much. Maybe you want to offer $12,000 for it. So there's haggling room with certain things on that, especially houses. You can definitely haggle the price down. That could change that because that A that we multiply by that fraction is lower to begin with. So what happens when let's just don the math cap real quick. Put it on, put it over your ears. Perfect. Don't cover your ears. Good. All right. So we put that on. If we multiply that amount financed by a fraction, well, unless it's an improper fraction like 3/2 or something, if it's a proper fraction like 1/2 or 1/4 or 1/8 or 1/10 or 1/12, the resulting product that we're going to get from that is going to be a lower number than A. It has to be. If you multiply any whole number by a fraction that's not improper, then the resulting product will be smaller. So how do we get this P smaller? Well, we need to, when we are multiplying this A by this fraction, we need this numerator to be smaller and this denominator to be larger, right? Because we want that fraction to be small, 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 right? Which is greater, 1/10 or 1/1000th? Well, 1/10 is greater. 1/10 is closer to 1, right? So we want this, the numerator should be very small and the denominator very large. How can we do that? Well, to make that numerator smaller, our interest rate, R, that R that we're multiplying that expression by, could be smaller. Instead of 6.9%, it could be 1%, right? Or we could lengthen the term, that n value right there that we are exponentiating by, okay? So, like I said, you can haggle with the loan amount. You can often offer a lower amount, low on. Your interest rate is tied up to your credit score, usually. They'll check, a car dealership will check with several different banks and credit unions to find the lowest interest rate for you, but that is tied up with your credit score. The only way to get a better deal from that is to increase your credit score and come back later, right? The N is where they're going to budge most often, and that is making your term, your payment term, longer. If they first said 5 years, well, if you say you can't afford it, they'll probably try to make it 6. Number one, that gets more interest for the bank. Number two, it forces you to pay the same amount, but gives you longer to pay it. Okay? So that's something they'll budge on quite often, is that N, the amount of payments in total that you're going to make. So, let's go to a situation where you don't want to do this in your head all the time. I can't remember this formula. It's not an easy one to remember. It's not E equals MC squared. So let's say you want to do this in Excel. You want to wow your boss with your Excel prowess, which we're going to get into plenty of Excel tricks, because I tell you, Excel can do a lot of heavy lifting. So let's go to Excel. If we go to Excel, you can see that I've plugged in our A here in B2, our R value in B3, and our N value in B4. So the function that we're going to use here, we're going to come to an empty cell and we're going to say equals PMT, open parentheses. All right, before you open the parentheses, just read the explanation. Calculates the payment for a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. So that's what we want. We're going to open our parenthesis and we're going to see that it gives us 3 different parameters that we have to give this function for it to work. Rate, M per, and PV. Well, you could tell me, Taylor, I don't know what those mean, and I certainly didn't when I came to this either, when I began learning Excel. So you can always Google it. You can look up PMT Excel function and find out what it means, the parameters. So the rate is the interest rate for the loan. What we're going to put in, Excel does not want to take a decimal value. They want a percentage. So you still want to give it the 6.9%, right? You can see I've got 0.575%. Just divide 6.9% by 12. You get 0.75, or 0.575. So we need to tell that where to find it. We've got it in B3, not B4. N per, what does that mean? That means the total number of payments for this loan. So that I've saved over here in cell B4. Let's give it B4. Put another comma in between our parameters. PV, that means the present value or the total amount that a series of future payments is worth now, also known as the principal. I've saved that in B2. If we hit enter, we can see that it puts it in red in parentheses. That indicates that it's a debt. It's an amount owed, right? Like a bill. And it says 289.02. So we got pretty darn close. We had 289 and 37 cents. So we're 35 cents off, and that's just due to some of the rounding I did with the decimal numbers. Okay? So that's how you can, that's one of the umpteen million ways you can use Excel to make your life easier and really wow any employer that you work for. And we'll get into more of that. We're going to learn C++, a lot of aspects of that. We can do web authoring. We can do more Excel. We can learn some Visual Basic for applications. That's one of my favorite things to do. I've made entire programs that run my whole household budget, that tell me what stocks to buy. I mean, you can automate so much of this, and you just need to have a little coding prowess, and you need to have mathematical understanding, because you can, you know, I know a lot of people that go into computer science thinking it's just, you know, it's just point and click storyboarding, and it has nothing to do with algorithms, has nothing to do with computer hardware or understanding how a computer thinks, and it does, and it's mathematical, right? STEM, the M is probably the most important one in there. So, thank you for watching. I wanted to take this opportunity the last couple of minutes to let you know that you can find me on Patreon. I've provided a link in every one of my videos. It would be really helpful if you guys could sign up. It doesn't send me your credit card number, nothing like that. It's just one tier, it's $3 a month. It helps me get technology to keep providing these lessons, and I swear that they will always have value for you. Okay? Have a good Monday. I'll see you guys later.